What's up? What's up? It's your boy Vinny Dangerous. We are back with another one. One of the last two streams of 2023. Shout out to everybody on the broadcast channel on the 1430 podcast Instagram page because unanimously everybody for voted for this. So this is what we're gonna give y'all. And I'm gonna give it a few more minutes. Yeah, I was thinking about adding my old logo back for a second, but no, I wasn't really feeling it. But yeah. We doing the tier list again. People really fuck with the tier list last time. Um, leave some suggestions for some more tier lists. I'm excited about this one. I wasn't necessarily excited about streaming. I feel like this has been when you have kids and they go to daycare, they pick up, they get sick and pick up stuff from other kids, and then they bring it home and they get you sick. My son wasn't feeling well. I actually don't even think it's related. Uh, but at the same time, he wasn't feeling well. I was having some stuff going on with my stomach. I actually think it was something that I ate the night before that wasn't really agreeing with me. Shout out to Little Caesars. I really rock with Little Caesars, but I think the garlic parmesan wings wasn't really rocking with my stomach, and it sucks because I usually have good experiences with them, but for some reason that particular day really jacked your boy up, and I feel like I'm still recovering. But I was like, nah, we are, just weeks away from the end of 2023, so I gotta get my best and worst albums out the way before we wrap up for 2023. Um, if you watch it, I see a few people. Like I see a couple people on Twitch. I see a couple people on YouTube. Make sure y'all, say what's up in the chat, man. I love to hear from y'all. I might have a few like controversial picks. First of all, let me start off. While we wait in to get started, because I said I'll give it a few minutes to see if people gonna pull up. But I'll go ahead and put the disclaimer out there. This is all my opinion. I listen to a lot of music all the time. So, I have strong opinions about the stuff that I listen to as an artist and as a fan of music. So, but, at the end of the day, it's all my opinion. It's nothing that, if you feel some type of way, make sure you leave a comment on the video. If you're watching this live or if you watching this after the fact, you can leave a comment. Let me know how you feel about my picks. But at the end of the day, it's all my opinion. Like next week, I'm gonna have my favorites, and you might dislike a few of the ones that I got on my favorites. I'm still trying to determine that one. Like people talk about how bad 2023 was, especially for hip hop. But like when I was going through, like everything that came out this year, and some stuff that I'm still rocking with, it was a lot more. I mean, it was pretty split. I'm not gonna say that. It was pretty split. There was a lot of stuff that I wasn't really rocking with, and then there was like, but maybe like half and half. It was like I had a bunch of them that I was disappointed in, and a bunch of them that I actually liked. So it was pretty split down the middle. I did notice like it's mostly mainstream stuff that I wasn't really feeling, and the stuff that really stuck with me that you're gonna see next week on my top. I'm gonna keep it to 10. My top 10 favorite albums of the year. You'll notice that a lot of them aren't necessarily like the most mainstream albums. So that kind of just shows you where things are at. Anything that might have came out in December probably didn't make my list, if we being honest. Just I haven't had time to sit down with it. Like Nicki Minaj's album just came out Friday. Uh, I can't really give my thoughts on something that just came out like 2 days ago. Like these are all albums that I've had like majority of the year or at least a couple months to sit with. Like something that just came out a couple days ago. I really don't have that much to say about it. So I'm not going to, lump those in. Also, uh, so I made sure that I put the most disappointing and not worst. This kind of goes back to it being my opinion. The reason why I say most disappointing, because there's a lot of like, as much as I'm trying to cape for this year, like if we being honest, there's a lot of stuff that came out that was pretty bad. So, I'd be here all day talking about the stuff that I thought was bad just for being bad. But I wanted to do most disappointing because these are albums that I was looking forward to. Whether it was the singles, whether it was like, oh, such and such as the album coming out, and I was really a big fan of their previous album or their previous work, over the years. And so I was excited about this album, and this album just didn't really, didn't live up to the hype. There's some obvious picks, there's some controversial picks, but we gonna have some fun tonight. I think I'm gonna start in like 3 minutes. Um, I was debating if I was even gonna talk about this on this stream or the next one. I think I'll go ahead and just talk about it on this one. So basically, after this stream, let me look at the calendar. Okay, yeah. So 'cause we got the 10th today, and then we got the 17th next week, and then of course is Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. Obviously, I'm not doing a stream during those periods, right? Um, but I think overall, I'm just going to completely shut everything down. Like, so I might post a couple end of the year things on the podcast Instagram page or the Facebook page. But as far as like being very active on social media, on my personal page, or just like sharing stuff in my stories and things like that, probably won't be doing a lot of that. I share a lot of news clips and stuff. I started doing that in like in between breaks because I noticed that my like Instagram page would get real dry when I was doing Dangerous Minds as a podcast. And I would notice that my Instagram page and engagement would go down. So I was just like, okay, let me keep something on this page if I don't really have anything else to say or I don't have any new content coming out. And I was just like, oh, okay, I'll just share these news clips that I think will be pretty interesting. Cause sometimes they end up being stuff that I talk about on the podcast. But this is the time of the year where that shit kind of slows down anyway. Cause there's not really a lot of interesting things going on. I'll post it if it's really that interesting, but I don't think I'll be that. I think I just need to from step away from social media, step away from music in general. Like one of the things, like I went back and like listened to a bunch of albums. Like I said, I had a list, like a pretty long list. I wanted to narrow down to 10, and I really had like I got a headache listening to some of the music we're gonna be talking about today, and it just made me like, ugh. I'm just so like I think I just need to step away from music. I'm working on my album, and if you know anything about the technical side of like mixing and mastering, like that shit can get exhausting after a while, and then turn around and like having to put together, like having to listen to the music that I know for a fact that I didn't like, but just to get familiar again with it, like it just made me like I just need to step away. So if you don't see me online, until New Year's or whatever. Like that's why. So if anybody's just wondering where I'm gonna be at, I won't be on Threads. I won't be on Instagram. I won't be on Facebook. I won't be on YouTube or Twitch or anything. And I don't really know when this is gonna come back. As far as 1430, I'm gonna still stream. I think I'm gonna do more music, like as far as like, getting ready for the album, or like getting ready for the album, or maybe do some like producer streams, or maybe some song breakdowns. But 1430 might not happen for a little while. I don't know. Just until I have something interesting to say, or I don't know. But right now, like until something comes up, I don't really know when it's gonna come back in 2024. So make sure y'all keep an eye out on the page and everything. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I put together the tier list, a little template and stuff ahead of time, just so we could, just so I could save. I know I was having some trouble with it last time. People definitely let me know about it. But, I made sure that I got a lot of that stuff handled ahead of time. So without further ado, let's get to the screen. Which one I want to use? Yeah, let's try this one real quick. Okay. So these are the 5 criterias, right? It's either going to be good but did not meet expectations. It's self-explanatory, but I can explain it a little bit more. It's basically like it was still good, but with my level of excitement going into it, just wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. Could have been better, which is it's kind of less than good. Like it was cool. Like I'm real quick to call something cool. Like maybe it wasn't for me. Maybe it was in a different direction that like maybe I'm not vibing with all the way there. But like it's not boring, but it's not that good either. Meh. It was just there. Like, it wasn't bad, it wasn't trash, but it was just like it wasn't memorable at all. Bad. It's like I'm hesitant to call it trash. Maybe it got a few songs that I might have rock with, like so something like that. But for like as a complete body of work, it was just not for me. Like it wasn't good as a whole. But and trash, it was the bottom of the barrel. Like it was just the worst thing. I don't know how well y'all seeing this. I don't know how well y'all seeing it. So I'm gonna probably pull up like bigger versions of the covers at the bottom. Some of them you're probably familiar with. Some of them maybe not as much. But hold on, I'm trying to pull this up because while I have this screen on, I can't really see if anybody comments on the chat. So I'm gonna be flipping back and forth. Yeah. All right, so let's start off with the most obvious one, shall we? So this one was such a letdown. This one was such a letdown that it created some of the biggest controversy like all year, just off the quality of this album. It's Drake's "For All the Dogs," right? Uh, and I want to start off with this one because my opinion on this one has changed a little bit since I talked about it on the podcast. When I was talking about it on the live stream before, it was really more about the reaction to it, like his whole spat with Joe Budden and him being upset at like people like Charlemagne for having opinions on either the singles or the album itself. It wasn't really about the album as much. But at the time, I really didn't like this album when I heard it. And I don't even know why. Well, I mean, I know why. But, like, I don't know why I was so excited to hear what this sounded like. Like a part of it just because it's Drake. Drake usually like makes a big event of all his albums when they roll out, and there's a certain level of expectation because of how big he is and like his body of work. You know, like Thank Me Later, Take Care, Nothing Was the Same. If you're reading this too late, like he has like albums that you could point to, and like maybe he can get back to that. And like unlike a lot of the people that I'm gonna talk about, like a lot of these other albums, they want Drake is known for like these humongous rollouts. Like he really makes a spectacle. So there's even if his last few albums before this was not that hot. Like you still have a certain level of expectation and a certain level of excitement when he rolls something out, just because of the big deal that he makes all of his projects. And so I think I had to remove myself from the controversy because it put a sour taste in my mouth just seeing how he was reacting to a few people not liking his album, or having like strong opinions about the quality of the work. So I recently, like, I think it was over. It might have been like that weekend of Thanksgiving. We had a road trip. We decided to put this on because it's a long ass album, and I think I ended up liking it a little more that time around. There's a few songs that already stuck out to me, like First Person Shooter, Drew Picasso, Amen with Tizo Touchdown. And like it had joints on it, even on my first listen, that I really rock with. And I was even going back to a little bit, but there was still a lot of it that either sounded very derivative of his previous work or was just downright awful. And there's this trend because of streaming and because of, I guess it's just the trend of like the mainstream people trying to maximize the streaming numbers, so they have these long bloated albums. And I felt the same way about Scorpion, that like if you cut out a lot of the fat on this album, it would be a really great album. There, even the songs that may sound a little derivative or like, you know, like lower quality, like if it wasn't so much of it. And I think, there's this like little ending part where it's songs like Rich Baby Daddy and the joint with Little Yachty. I think it's called Another Night. The song with Bad Bunny, like all of those, it gets to, there's a run of songs after like that at the midway point of the original version, not counting the Scary Hours joint, where it gets really hard to listen to it. So it's a very difficult album to categorize because there are like maybe the first 11 tracks, with the exception of the Yeet song and then the song with 21 Savage, which that song pissed me off because it had so much potential, but there's this that girl ranting in the middle of the song pisses me off every time I hear it. Like the beginning part with Drake and even 21 Savage's part, like I really enjoy. It's just that long ass middle rant that this girl talking about absolutely fucking nothing. Even if she was talking about something at like that had any type of substance that maybe I can get behind, like just in execution, and because of how fucking long it is, it still wouldn't work. But even if you listen to what she's talking about, the shit pisses me off every time. Like the album was so bad, like it was bad because Drake put out Scary Hours as a response to people being upset he wasn't rapping. So I felt like that was almost like a self-own, kind of like Jay-Z putting out the Blueprint 2.1 after the Blueprint 2 as like an admission that, yeah, this is not a good album. I have to retool this and put this back out. That's what Scary Hours felt like to me. So like where do I put this? Cause like I said, my opinion, it probably would have went into bad, not trash before. I'm gonna stick it right in the middle. I'm gonna stick it right in the middle. Uh, just because it had potential. I'm not gonna say it could have been better because, like, I think in execution, like one of the things that frustrates me about Drake in a lot of ways, or not even just Drake, but artists in general, like when they get to that mainstream level, when they have these like bloated albums, these checklist albums, they frustrate me because like it felt like it was corporate gain over artistic value. That's why it kind of pissed me off with Drake's response because like in the reality of the situation is you made an album with commercial like with more of a commercial mindset that I don't understand why like critics not feeling your album would piss you off the way that it did. And like, just like I said, that put a sour taste in my mouth. But like when I step away from that, like the album isn't terrible. Cause Drake is still like a talented guy. But, I think sometimes, some of the other antics around him can overshadow that. So yeah, I don't know how people feel about this album. So this might be a little bit of a controversial take. I'm not 100% sure. I actually completely forgot this album came out this year. But once I looked it up, I remember how I felt about it, and I listened to it again, and my opinion still stands. I Told Them by Burna Boy. Now, like I said, I don't know how, the Afrobeat community felt about this album. I just remember, like, because I've always been a big Burna Boy fan. Ever since I heard, like, his first, what was his first album? Well, you know what? Let's look that up. Boy, first album. Okay, yeah, let's pull up his discography. Oh no, I definitely wasn't that. So never mind. Okay, yeah, the album I got introduced to him was African Giant. Yeah, that's the one. Ever since I heard this, I was definitely a big fan, and everything after that, even the album before this one, because what was it? I don't want to butcher it, so I'm not gonna say it out loud. But yeah, it came out last year. Even that one, I wasn't as high on it as like the first two. I mean, the other two, like African Giant and Twice as Tall. But there's still a lot of joints on it that I really like, so it was still dope. So I was going into this one like excited, and then I'm seeing like the videos of him, hanging out in like New York, and then I heard the song where he sampled Brandy, Sitting on Top of the World. And that song, I'm not gonna front, I wasn't really feeling like that, but it just kind of made me excited. Like, okay, he's going in a new direction, and I see he got a song with J. Cole. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. This album just didn't really leave an impression on me. It's something about music. Like sometimes, depending on when you first heard this, like when you first heard an album, will like determine how you feel about it, right? So I remember I was having like I put this on. I think I was on my way to like a doctor's appointment or something like that, and I was having the most stressful fucking day. I can't really tell you exactly what was going on. Hold on, I'm looking at my stream. I'm realizing it's a little off. Why is it off? Hold on. Let me fix that real quick. Yeah, why is my display? Oh, it's a little off centered. Hold on. Yeah, I ain't gonna be able to. Matter of fact, let me do that. Oh, I ain't gonna be able to edit it that way. All right. Yeah, y'all just got to bear with me. because I'm trying to fix this. So I just realized that y'all not seeing the screen at at full dimensions. Yeah, I got a new monitor, and it's automatically like defaulting to my monitor's aspect ratio. Like I got my wife got it for me for my birthday. It's all right. We just gonna have to rock with that. Let me see if I can get this to. Let's see what this look like when I get back. Waiting. Yeah, that works. Yeah, that'll work for right now. But yeah. So I'm listening to this album. I put it in the car. And I'm having the most stressful day. I think I left thinking everything was cool at my job, and then like I get a call, like an emergency call at the last second. Like it was something. Like my whole day, my whole vibe was fucked up. So at the time when I first heard it, I'm not, I'm not really able to hone in, and it just feels attached to that point in time in my life. But even after going back and listening to it, like after that day, and then revisiting it, it was really just boring. That's kind of how I felt about the Brandy single. Like I felt like it was kind of boring. Like it was interesting hearing him on a track like that, and I know it was real big on like TikTok and stuff. But man, album and execution was really boring. First of all, I hated the bait and switch of RZA and GZA. But GZA's on it, but like I feel like his feature was really awkward, and RZA's, I don't even know where he's at on the song. Like it's really weird. Might be one of J. Cole's worst features on the album as well too. That really felt like he was phoning that one in, and I don't know. The album just feels really disjointed. There's not any like standout tracks to me, like on his previous work. Like nothing. And like it feels like this album came and went. Like I said, I kind of forgot that this even came out, and I just remember a lot of like talk. A lot of people co-signing him. Like I say, he was hanging out with New York with this person and that person, and it seemed like this was gonna be a real big thing. And I think he had sold out like Madison Square Garden or so. It was enough. I feel like it was Madison Square Garden. It was some kind of famous arena. So there was a lot of hype around him and this album coming out around the same time, and it's just like in execution, it just kind of was there. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna. This one is also going in like meh. Like I wouldn't call it bad, like because there was nothing outright bad. I hated the RZA feature thing. That was kind of irking. But for the most part, it was nothing like outright bad on the album, but it was just kind of there. Uh, okay. Now this one's gonna be interesting. So now, like I said, I revisited a lot of albums. Like this is IDK's F65, right? Um, like I said, a lot of times the hype just kind of comes from like the work previous. Like his album before this, what was this album called? The discography. What was that album? Use for yourself. I think that's what. I hope I'm saying that right. Well, anyway, this album right here. That I love that album so much. Like it was I think it might have been like my second favorite album of 2021. Like just behind Tyler the Creator. This like man, if you haven't heard that album, or you haven't heard IDK, man, make sure you do. But I remember being a little disappointed by this album. But going back and listening to it, it's actually not as bad. Like, is it you know was it good enough to save it from being on this list? Obviously not. But like when I go back through the track list, I think it just kind of starts off weak. Like the first five tracks is are just kind of there. Um, Honestly, I came around to Mr. Officer because of the video that came with it. Like I thought that was really dope the way he put that together. So the video definitely changed my opinion on it. Um, yeah, I my biggest issue with this album was that I think he had a concept that he was trying to put together for it, like the whole, a Formula Racing concept, and it felt one of the things that really irks me is when you have a concept and you don't really commit to it. Like it's like halfway through the album or partway through the album, you kind of drop it. The song that also got me really hype about this album was the song Radioactive. That shit was dope. I remember that one being a single, and like it was one of the songs that I just had on repeat. When it dropped, the video, everything, I was just like, yo, it's crazy. I love this song. Surprisingly, I like the song with Saucy Santana too. Saucy Santana, and I think this is Juicy Fruit. That song was actually pretty dope. Like that is what Rich Baby Daddy from Drake's album probably should have been in like execution. But yo, I really like this album. Really like this. I mean, not this album. I really like that song. Uh, the album is just kind of cool. Like I said, the Irkin thing, and then there's this song. There's a few songs like the song with Music Soul Child. Not the interlude because there's an interlude and there's a song, two separate songs, but it's featuring Music Soul Child. The interlude is dope. I wish that was longer, and then song, the full song with him, I wasn't feeling. Uh, yeah, it's a weird album to talk about because I do, I, I do feel like revisiting the album, I enjoyed it more than maybe the first time, and other than like the Burna Boy album, for instance, it wasn't really an album. It was an album that I really tried to enjoy, but I really wanted to like the album because of how much I love the previous album, 2021. But man, it just did not. It just didn't do it for me. It just didn't do it for me. Even though there's some songs on here, especially Radioactive, that I walk away from really enjoying. Um, I think some of the songs it feels very disjointed. The concept doesn't really land. Like it's not as focused on. The song "Up the Score" with Benny the Butcher kind of pissed me off. I know it's kind of a nitpicky thing, but it's the not pissed me off. Not I'm not that's probably a too strong a word, but it was definitely it felt like a missed opportunity. Like I felt like the hook in the beginning of the song is so dope, and if they would have just kept that going throughout the rest of the song, but they kind of drop it and they just kind of do an in and out like version of it, and it kind of saps the energy from the song to me, where it really could have used it. And by the time I get to that song and songs like Radioactive that I really enjoy, uh, that's towards the end of the album, and then the beginning of the album is just like I said, just kind of there. Um, I'm gonna put it in. I'm gonna put this album in. Could have been better. Like I felt like the concept the concept was there, it just wasn't executed well, and it's like an album that like really should be better than it was. I can't really even call it good because I don't like I have to skip around too much to find what I like. But the stuff that I like, I really like. So it's a weird you know way to categorize it. Where should we go next? First of all, let me check. I'm gonna check see if somebody said anything in the chat. I'm probably yeah. I'm talking to myself. So it's cool. No, it's because I ain't got nobody in the chat yet, but it's fine. So so where we gonna go next? All right, I'm gonna go. All right, I got no ones because I'm gonna talk about an album that I really did not like. They gonna make me put. They gonna make me put the title in. Now talk about an album. When I first put it on, I couldn't finish it. This album right here. Whoa, what the fuck? Okay, let me see if it works this way then. All right, it's probably all grainy. I don't know what the fuck happened when I tried to search it just now. But yeah, Busta Rhymes Blockbuster. Yeah, matter of fact, let me go ahead and grab it. I'm putting it in the trash. I'm putting it in the trash. First of all, Busta's a legend. I don't want to disrespect the legend. Uh, but I can disrespect this album because I am not feeling this album at all. I'm not feeling this album at all. And I was really looking forward to it. But, I mean, for one, it's Busta. Even though I didn't like the single with Coil Ray, that was the only single that I did hear beforehand. Even though I don't like the song with Coil Ray, but it's Busta Rhymes, and his album, I think he dropped it in like 2020. It's either 2020 or 2021. I think it was 2020 because I remember hearing it, and I think I was still wearing a mask at the time. 2020, yeah. That album, Extinction. Damn, I dropped my phone. Extinction Level Event 2 is dope. Massively underrated. Like belated sequel albums are really hard to pull off, and I felt like he did a greater job as any. Like it was definitely one of those albums that was like a pleasant surprise. It's mad long. It's too fucking long. But like for about 85 to 90% of the runtime, I am enjoying it. Busta's rapping his ass off, really giving you that classic feel. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like everything about like this album is dope. So even if I'm not feeling the singles, and when I saw the track list for this album, I wasn't feeling it. I was a little hesitant, but I was still like, yo, it's Busta. And, he put out a great body of work not too long ago. Let me give it a shot. First time listening to it, I ain't finished it. Like, I was so like, all right, man. Because it's an obvious. It's one of those things that, like, when older rappers, I won't speak for other artists, but older rappers do this, right? And like Busta in interviews has talked about how he's just basically trying to bridge the gap between like the younger artists. Like he's trying to put his arm around like some of the young people coming up and like work with them, and that's dope, right? But I really wish he would have brought them into his world and not him kind of chase their sound or it's one of the things that when older artists do this, it comes off very try hard. And like in an effort to not sound old by working with these younger artists and rapping on these different sounds that they are doing, like these current sounds, like these current trends, you come off old by trying not to sound old. Like maybe he might have felt like he sounded old on Extinction Level Event, but like he fits, like Bust fits that sound, like he fits that style. So trying to do, the stuff, like just do the stuff that he was doing on this album, like like I say, trying to work with the younger artists, put his arm around them. I really don't want to hear a song with him and Bia. I don't want to hear a song with him and Quavo. Uh, that flip, like a lot of people gassing it. I really was not feeling that song with him, the baby, and T Pain. And it really hurts me thinking about the potential of Busta Rhymes and T Pain collaboration has. The baby I could take or leave. But oh man, I wasn't feeling this album at all. I don't think there was a single song. I think the song with Chris Brown was cool. It's nothing I would go back to. I think that's the biggest thing. It's like even the songs that were like the songs that I liked were like just passable at best. Man, yeah, this one was bad. Like I had to put it in trash. I was, and like I said, Extinction Level Event was so dope, regardless of the stuff I'd heard beforehand from this album, like Beach Ball, and I just realized that Beach Ball track was the other single that I heard, and I hated it. And then the song with Coyle Ray, which I also hated. Um, yeah, like I just don't. I really hope if Busta's gonna keep putting out music, that I hope he like just kind of sticks to the stuff that he knows, because there's still a appetite and a fan base for that. Like there's still people that'll rock with you, but like doing this, I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling it at all. Actually, I had a dope idea. I was listening to some songs with my wife, and "Ass on Fire" came on, like Busta's track. And the first thing I thought about was like, man, I would love to hear a Neptunes or Pharrell produced project, like a Busta Rhymes produced project, like a Busta Rhymes Neptunes collaboration, like for a full project, even if it's only like 9 or 10 songs or something like that. Like I would love to hear that. Like Pharrell and Busta just locking in the studio, or like get the whole Neptunes and producing behind Busta for a whole project. That shit would be phenomenal. I really feel like that would be like that would be something that I would love to see from Busta in the future, but not this, not this Blockbuster album. Oh man, um, and I was wondering if I was gonna get any trash like on here, because a lot of the stuff is not like bad. It's just it just wasn't it just wasn't up to par. Um, so yeah, this one right here, right? First of all, I'm a big fan of Masego. Like he like features, individual singles, like dude. Anytime I hear him, just very musical, very entertaining. Like just he just has a certain aura, a certain energy to him that I always like enjoy. Right. So I went into this album very excited, but like admittedly, he's never really been like much of an album artist. Like I've heard singles from him, features from him. Even he did like an EP, like Study Abroad, that I really liked, but like a full body of work wasn't really, haven't really come away from a full Masego project like really enjoying everything from top to bottom. Like I usually pick the songs that I really like, and I go to those, and I'm not really feeling the full project. I don't know what it is. It's just certain songs. It's just like it just feels like there's a it's it's just like individual tracks, but for a full cohesive body of work, just never really did it for me. Uh, but I went into this one like with high hopes, just because like of the stuff that he had been putting out prior to it. Like some of the songs didn't make this album, but like that's like what's this song called? You Never Visit Me. Hold on, I'm about to pull it up. About to pull it up. Yeah, You Never Visit Me. Uh, what was the other single that he had off this album? Off this album. I don't think it was Two Sides. Say You Want Me. Say You Want Me. That was a song. Both of those songs were really dope. And and when I tell you this album probably has like one of the best opening tracks, like Black Anime, that shit is so dope. And I think the biggest problem with this album is the fact that it starts off so strong, so epic. Literally nothing else can live up to it after that. Like it peaks at the very first song, and not to say it's downhill, because it's a it's it's actually pretty good. Like this is a pretty good album, but but everything just kind of sounds like it's just there after that song. It's so epic. It just feels like it's this explosion, and you're just waiting for it to reach those heights again, and it never does. I do like, because he made it a self-titled album. Like he is more about his journey and as an artist, like to get to where he is now. I What I end up doing when I listened to this album, because when I put it back in so I could revisit it, because I remember kind of feeling a little underwhelmed after that first track. But what I did was I skipped the first track and just played the rest of it. It's actually a pretty dope listen, honestly. I honestly was debating on if I was even gonna put it on this tier list or not, because it's not like it's bad, but I think because the singles were so dope, and uh, I was really like that first song just sets your expectations so high that it did feel like a little bit of a letdown for the rest of the listen. But I still think it's a dope album all overall. Like I actually don't really have any songs that I could point to that were like outright bad. I think there's only one, and I don't remember which one it is. I think it's like what you want to try. That's the one. Either what you want to try or play with my heart. I can't. I'm not playing none of these on YouTube because I don't want to get hit with no fucking copyright strike. I just remember listening to it, and I'm doing shit around the house, so I'm not paying attention to the song titles. I just remember there was a few lines, the song, like the topic of the song, and there's a few lines just make me go, I'm not really rocking with it. But for the most part, it's a solid listen. Like it's probably the highest rated album I've done so far on here. It's definitely good, but just did not meet expectations. And it's really just because that intro is so fucking dope. Like the intro is so dope that it's kind of hard to top, like to live up to it after that. But I definitely go back and listen to it. Like it's definitely a cool listen. Like I wouldn't call it a like a great album. Like it's good, but I just felt like he's such a talented guy. Like I just kind of feel like there could be more to his output. Like he's a very talented guy. Like I think he's a kind of a jack of all trade, master of none, especially when it comes to songwriting. Like the songwriting can be a little tricky at times listening to it, but like he's definitely a super talented guy. And like I'm still gonna be looking forward to like whatever he puts out after this. I just a full body of work may not be what I go to Masego for going forward, but you know either way, I fuck with it. All right, so we like halfway through. I got 5 albums, one pretty much on each except for two on Meh, and then Bad but not Trash is completely empty. Um, I think I'm going to go with the K Tronada and Amine album next. I know I spelled that wrong. Oh, but thank goodness they gave me the thing. It's not the full cover, but we just gonna rock with it. K Tramine. I was so excited about this. Like I think when this was announced, like I saw a lot of people say uh, it's a combination that you wouldn't have necessarily like thought about, but makes perfect sense when you say it out loud. Like K Tronada and Amine just feels like a match made in heaven. And I think my biggest issue with this album is that I feel like they played it too safe. Like nothing is wrong with Amine's rapping. There's nothing wrong with the production, but it just kind of feels like it's there. Like I'm thinking Amine is so creative and so like innovative with his songwriting and stuff like that. And he just has this very like fun personality, like this fun like energy with his music that and then K Tronada, like you know what can you say about K Tronada? Like the dude just his production is just next level. Like this not really anybody that you can kind of compare him to. Like you go to K Tronada for the K Tronada sound because there's nobody else is gonna be able to replicate what K Tronada does. And I just felt like, man, K Tronada could really like get like honestly, like K Tronada did his thing on the boards. I don't know. Maybe if the Amine just kind of felt like he was punching a little bit under his belt a little bit on this one. Like I felt like he could kind of. It's kind of the same thing with Masego when it comes to Amine, where like I'll hear some dope verses. Like that, he has this one project. I can't remember the name of it right now. It's the one where he's kind of like in the back seat of a car, kind of looks spaced out. Like, I remember it was like a real. It was kind of more of an EP. It has a song "Reel It In" on it. Man, that shit is dope. That was I love that. I love that was like, and that felt more like just we just gonna do whatever, and it just kind of came off dope. But like anytime a full body of work, I don't know, like it just never really feels like he's and that cause he seems like such a laid back, carefree guy. Like maybe he just doesn't care about like this kind of like trying to make this critically acclaimed artistic expression, but it just felt like there's always more. Like it felt like it could have just been more. Like I always kind of walk away from his full body of work, but like I still enjoy his music. I just it's just kind of one of those things where I was like, damn man, if he would have did maybe a little bit more of this, or put a little bit like this song, if it was, I felt like if it was fleshed out a little bit more, it could have been like really epic. But that's just me as a fan, like just kind of saying like, bro, you can really do this. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about this one. It's not nothing bad. I might actually put it right next to the Masego album. I was thinking that it could have been better, but it's actually not bad. It's not a bad album at all. Like it's actually really good. Um, it just I guess because you just think you hear the names Amine and K Tronada and you just kind of think like you think of something a little bit more than the album that we ended up getting. Oh man, this one right here. Oh man, yeah, this is the one. This one right here. There's another one I kind of forgot came out, and like I'm a big Black fan. I've definitely from the time I heard him on Free, I had always like it's like appointment listening when he got something to drop for me personally. So I when I heard about him putting out this album, I was really excited. Not gonna hold you, wasn't really feeling the singles that he had out. Let me see, cause I want to remember like the shit that I heard before the album came out. Fatal Attraction, Talk Back. Since I Have a Lover, which is the title of the album. Um, Now that song, I didn't know how to feel about it, honestly. But the other two singles were really dope. It really I didn't know how to feel about it just because it felt like just this big departure from what he had done before. But like I've never fault anybody for doing something different, and it actually wasn't a bad song. It just wasn't what I was expecting. But it's like okay, we got this new direction. Ah, this album just sounded like background noise to me, honestly. Like like it's just kind of there. Like it feels so low energy, and it's a long album too. Like how many tracks is on this? Like this, it was a long album. Like it feels too long for there really not to be much. Yeah, it's an hour long. It's 19 songs. Um, and it's not enough for me to go back to. I mean, the song with Don Tolliver was cool. I love Fatal Attraction, Since I Have a Lover. Um, Tit for Tat, I remember that one. Talk Back was dope. Um, but that's really it. Like and that's like four songs out of 19. That ratio is off. I think the main thing it just kind of felt like underwritten. Like a lot of the songs don't feel like completed thoughts. It don't feel like completed songs. Um, so it wasn't necessary. It wasn't anything memorable on it. And even the songs like I just mentioned, I liked. Uh, Cause Don Tolliver's album came out like maybe a month before this album, and there was a lot of the tracks on here that were cool, but like I could get a better version of it from the Don Tolliver album, and not to compare them, because they should be able to stand on their own. But it wasn't enough, just in general, for me to come back to on this album. Like I was kind of bored. Um, I'm gonna be honest. I think I'm gonna put it in bad. Like I wouldn't call it trash, but man, like when you an album, think about an album like ratio wise. Like you give us 19 tracks, and I might go back to four of them, and even those four, like I'm not necessarily like, oh, I gotta play this. Like the IDK album was like, okay, yeah, it's cool, but like certain songs like Radioactive, like I'm playing that. I'm going back to that. There's nothing that made me want to go back to this album. I have to say it's bad. Like it was for something that I was really like looking forward to come out to the other side of it and just completely forget it exists. Like there's nothing worse in entertainment than being boring. Like even a bad album, if it's bad and entertaining, like the Chance the Rapper album, The Big Day, like that's an album I could kind of listen to for a laugh or I can have a discussion. There's really nothing to talk about on this Black album, and I felt like that's worse. I wouldn't call it trash because it at least has something that I will go back to, but yeah, not a lot, not a lot. All right, so just a few more. I might speed these up. Uh, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna. I'm gonna go ahead and go. Brent. I'm gonna go Brent. What is this fucking album even called? Yeah. All right. Brent. Matter of fact, I already know where to put it. It was just there. Matter of fact, nah, I'm putting it. I'm putting it right here. I'm putting it right here. Basically take everything that I said about Black and just copy and paste it to Brent. That's basically how I feel about it. Um, I don't know what's up with Brent, man. I've been a fan of him for a minute, and he just kind of comes off like really one note now, like the toxic. I'm too cool. Like I'm a shit on these bitches, but I still, they still love me. Like there's only so much of that you could do for an hour, like 18, 19 songs. Like I really feel like we need to bring back quality control when it comes to these albums because like I need somebody to really sit down and go, yo, this would be so much. Yo, that's not even that long. That's crazy. I was gonna say like we need to, get back to quality control so somebody can say we got it within 12 songs. We don't need another 10. Like I know it's streaming. I know people playing the streaming game to get more to try to fast track themselves to like number one and shit or whatever position on Billboard that they're gunning for. But man, it is so like it really hurts as a listener, like as a consumer, like it's really hurting. Like it really hurts because it's like I really want to enjoy this, but it's too long. But I just looked. This shit is only at like 30 minutes, but it feels long. Like it feels long. It feels very derivative. Like his last album, Waste. I think it was Wasteland. That album, to me, had the same problem, but I think this one had a little bit more of a like that one had a little bit more of an identity. This one just the production, the songwriting, his performances, everything just sounds so low effort to like it's a slog to get through, man. Like I like how it starts out the beginning, kind of like these faux Missy Timberland vibes. Like Missy's even on the second track, I think. And if I would have got more of that, it would have been different and it would have been cool. But even those songs, I wouldn't go back to. And then the songs after that, everything else after that, it's just background noise. So yeah, I'm gonna just put that one next to it's the basically copy and paste. And I can't say that I can't say six. Not I was about to call him six like. I can't say Black is bad. And it's basically the exact same thing with this Brent Faiyaz album. Like it's just there. I'm bored. I am bored listening to this album. Like I really wish. Like if Brent can be as laid back as he wants to, but like, bro, just at least get like some better production. Like get some production that puts a little bit more energy behind your voice. Like we need a little bit more of a contrast. Like these low effort, low energy beats, and then your low energy, low effort, performance on the track. Like your vocals are so laid back. Like it just I can't. I don't know. I just can't. I can't get with it. Last two albums. In pieces. Yeah. Yeah. Now, for people that don't know, I'm a big R&B guy. Like I really enjoy R&B music. And I know she gets a lot of hate, but I was really looking forward to this just because I really thought, Chloe would pull up. And I think she had some really dope singles that did not make this album, which I thought was a very curious choice. Um, yeah, this had a lot of potential though. Like a lot of people hated on it. It was another one of those albums that people kind of tore apart, and I actually think it's not as bad as people try to make it out to be. Like I think it's if I had to describe what went wrong with this album, you know, I feel like there's not a lot for me to take away from this album feeling like I know who Chloe is. Like it feels like this could have been these same songs, sung the same way. Like just keep everything the same. The lyrics, the arrangement, the production, just keep everything the same, but you could give it to just anybody. You give it to Normani, you could give it to what's another one like Ryan Destiny, uh, just whoever. It could have given to LMA. Like you could have gave these songs to just about anybody, and this album wouldn't have felt any different. Like she may have a better singing voice than all of them or something like that, but like for the most, but we don't even really get much of her vocal range on this album. Like it just kind of felt like a very generic, safe uh, label album. Like this is to satisfy the suits. Like the suits would really enjoy this album. Like you may really like this album. This might be another one of those controversial picks that people might have a problem with. But I remember my wife and I like was listening to this in the car. She was looking forward to it also, and I just remember thinking like, man, like there's some joints on here that I could think of one off the top of my head. I don't remember the name of it, but I remember the sound of it. I think it's body body do. I thought that one was good. Actually, the song with her and Chris Brown is not bad. I even think the song with Missy is a little just that might be one of the weakest like Missy features I've probably heard. And I just liked the idea of them working together, like Chloe and Missy, but it was just kind of there. Like she felt very low effort. I think there's another track. I might be either Make It Look Easy or Lose You. One of those songs I thought was pretty dope, but everything else is just kind of there. I think that's kind of how I felt about that one. I'm gonna put it in meh. Like it was just there. It yeah, yeah. I think that's fair. That's fair. Um, but I would definitely keep an eye out for whatever she does next because I think the response to this album, and I don't know. I feel like either her and her sister gonna get back together and do something, or I think she's gonna right the wrongs of this album. So I'd keep an eye out for it. But still, um, I know this one will definitely rub some people the wrong way. But yeah, this the final one, Conway. And I saved this one for last because I think not only does this kind of speak to like Conway, but just kind of my general feeling about Griselda as a whole. Um, so about this album, this felt like, first of all, God Makes No Mistakes, one of my favorite albums of 2021. 2021 was a really good year for rap. Like a very a lot of people talk shit about the last few years. There was a lot of like dope albums that came out that year, and this was actually it was such a stacked year. It was hard for me. I don't even think it made my top 10. I think it was this was on my honorable mentions. Not this one. God Don't Make Mistakes was on my honorable mentions because of how stacked it was. But this album was. I mean, that album was dope. So I went into this one really excited, and man, I did not like what I heard. Um, the album sounds so all over the place to me. Like a lot of the production, it's like it's like it's trying to sound glossy. It's trying to sound big and like epic, like stadium status. But it's really like if it just kind of sounds like weak to me. It's a weird it's a weird way to put it. Like I'm trying to remember what it even sounded like. And man, when I tell you, not only with Conway, because like I said, I love God Don't Make Mistakes, and like for the most part, majority of his output, like Conway was probably my favorite member of Griselda because of the albums he put out. Uh, like I discovered Griselda because of Benny, and West Side is definitely like a really dope curator. But like when I think about full bodies of work and who has like the better catalog, to me it's Conway. Conway's always been the more charismatic and like more like album like art driven, not art driven, but like more of the he's the guy to put together like a very like cohesive, diverse body of work. He was always my favorite when it comes to that. And this is the probably the one project I probably walked away from it feeling like, what was this? And apparently this is supposed to be like the album. Like everything else was either they said this one or the one or God Don't Make Mistakes is supposed to be was the album. Uh, but yeah, I walked into this one thinking it was gonna be on that level, and I remember the singles being like cool, but I just kind of walked away from this one like really disappointed, like on every front, like the songwriting, the production, just everything was just kind of, I don't know, just felt like Conway was kind of boxing below his belt again. But I think this was also, and this might just be kind of like I said, I kind of wanted to save this one last, like my feeling about Griselda overall. I think because they saturated the market with their music so heavy, like I just looked, I realized that Conway's probably put out 3 projects this year, whether it's him by himself or collaborating with somebody. What's that? Yeah, he got an album that came out in March. Won't He Do It came out in May. When did this come out? Yeah, Conway presents Drum Work. That came out in July. He got this song. He got the album with 38 Special, which I actually really like. I actually like that one a lot. That might have been my favorite Conway project that came out this year. Um, and then apparently something that just came out December 1st that I had no idea about. And then there was something that just dropped this past Friday. It's only like 4 tracks, but still, between that and then all the albums that Benny's put out, then all the projects that Westside has put out, I'm just like really flicking on my nose, man. I'm sorry. I am. Yeah, I told you I wasn't really feeling good, and it's starting to catch up to me. But yeah, like with all of their projects, it's kind of hard for me to get excited and invested in a Griselda project at this point because there's so much music that has come out from them. It's really hard for me to, kind of distinguish the stuff that I'm like, okay, really appointment listening, or just you guys are just kind of putting out stuff to kind of, feed the streets or whatever. Like, it's really hard for me to get that invested. Like these guys are very talented rappers. Like their rap circles around like the best of them out right now. But it's just so much music. It's hard to keep up with. It's kind of like people talk about superhero fatigue with movies. Between Marvel and DC and these cinematic universes and things like that. I think I'm getting Griselda fatigue. I think it's to the point where like even if this album was great, like it was on, like there was a certain level of focus and purpose on God Don't Make Mistakes that separated it from everything else. Like if that one felt like the album versus everything else, it just kind of sounds like rapping and bars for the sake of rapping and bars. And this one felt like it was attempting that, but on a more grander scale. But it just execution wise, it just wasn't as enjoyable. So yeah, but I think the Griselda fatigue might be a contributing factor on how I felt with this album. Like the album itself still wasn't that interesting, wasn't that great, but I think I probably had a even more negative reaction to it because of that and the fact that I'm just kind of it's really hard for me to just get excited about Griselda projects from any of them at this point. Um, so yeah, where would I put this? I'm gonna put it in could have been better. I won't call it meh because it sticks out even when sticking out for the wrong reasons. But especially for a Conway project, one thing else I'll say for won't he do it is that it definitely doesn't like production wise, like sonically, it doesn't sound like anything else that I've heard from Conway. So I will give him props when it comes to that. But yeah, I don't know. It just like in execution, it just didn't resonate with me. I won't say it was so it wasn't just there. It wasn't bad. It wasn't trash, but just just felt like it could have been more. Could have been more like God Don't Make Mistakes as far as focus is concerned. Like it don't have to sound like that, but it didn't feel as focused and as well put together. So yeah, that's my tier list for my most disappointing albums of 2023. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but I am tired. But I appreciate everybody that tuned in. This is live streaming with your boy. Matter of fact, let me take a screenshot of that. I'm about to go back to the main screen Yeah, so make sure y'all tune in next week. The last stream of 2023. My favorite albums of the year. Make sure y'all leave a comment how y'all felt about the tier list, how y'all felt about the albums I talked about. If there was any other albums that I didn't talk about that y'all were disappointed in, y'all make sure y'all let me know. But yo, till next time, it's been your boy Viddy Dangerous. This has been 1430 Live. Much love.